Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, we are live for the Beacon TVL show. 1 second. So we have a fun show today planned for you. Unfortunately, we had a guest, SafeYields. They'll be back on in 2 weeks at a last-minute scheduling conflict. So looking forward to having them on the show on the 26th of June. So one other thing we're doing today is we are live streaming directly to X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it today. So trying out that functionality, seeing how it goes. No idea what it looks like, but we're live on our Twitter. Feel free to check us out at x.com/Beacon DeFi. And again, thanks to everybody here joining us. Thanks to all of our members. Did want to go ahead and put out a quick plug for our free group. If you're looking to learn how to be a DeFi investor and learn how to do it for absolutely free, learning from the best in the business, you can join our free group at school.com/Beacon, also known as Total Value Locked TVL, the namesake of this show, where we go live every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Good to see everybody today. And we'll go ahead and start with a look at the markets. There's actually quite a bit going on today. This is a quarterly Fed meeting, US FOMC meeting. So we've had a little bit of movement up and down the chart. As you saw, there's a little bit of a sell-off yesterday, and we are back up. Let's see. Yeah. Honestly, this kind of stuff happens a lot. I think they're just looking for some pretty good news. A lot of people sell the rumor, buy the rumor, sell the news. All right, sounds good. Oh, good. It looks good. Well worth the money to invest in that. So if you're ever looking to live stream, definitely check. I have no idea if there's lag, but excited to see that. So looking at the market for Bitcoin today, of course, we also have our ETH ETF. They're going to be gearing up. Hopefully, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. They are approved, but the S1s, which is going to be getting everything to be sold on markets, that is probably going to be hopefully before July 4th. Eric Balkunas, we talked about that 3 weeks ago, I believe, on the eve before, looking at possibly the 4th of July as probably the latest it would be. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll see it soon. That would be a big boon, although ripple effects, right, on how quickly that would come in. Let me move on to the next piece in the agenda, but just looking at the market, everything seems to be where it has been. So a lot of there was quite a bit of liquidations, though, I will say. So also the other thing that's coming up big is airdrops, right? Zksync says 695,000 wallets eligible for next week's ZK token airdrop. Let me put the website in here. I realized I don't have that. Well, let's say it's claim.zknation.io. If I remember correctly, I got it correct. I'll put it in the show notes. Do not guess like I just did, but I just was looking at it not that long ago. So, two things. You need a VPN because it's not open to U.S. residents, right? So if you've been farming Zksync era at all, I think up to March, I think, or actually it might be late February, I think is where the snapshot was taken. I've heard if you hold certain NFTs, have been good. Like if you hold a Pudgy, apparently that was an easy a 4-figure drop for you. I've seen multiple people with 5- and 6-figure drops based on a lot of liquidity provision, swaps, bridges. Not a whole lot of anti-Sybil here from what I keep hearing. So to anybody who's been out there farming this, along with stuff we've been doing in our mastermind and our free groups, congratulations. This is the first of many things this summer that I think are going to be great. We'll talk a little bit more about incentives this summer in a little bit in this show. We still have Blast coming up on June 26th. We have Layer 0 coming up hopefully before the end of the month. Could go into a little bit longer, but at least if you've been with our group for quite some time, then you should be doing really well with regards to airdrops. I think the other things that are left, MetaMask, probably the only real major one left. Scroll is another one. So if you're farming any of those, continue to do so. And Rabby, we just talked about Rabby last week. Rabby has season 2 of their points going on. No idea what it comes down to in the long run, quite honestly. But we'll see where we go from here. So next thing we'll talk about is Circle. Circle being the broker, the custodian for USDC, one of my favorite stablecoins, centralized as it may be, just like Tether. They are now bringing full Web3 services available to Solana. Now this is, I don't want to say a long time coming, but it's good to see. Native CCTP has been available for Solana, the transfer protocol, for USDC for quite a bit of time. Now we're going to be seeing full services here, which includes a service called Gas Station, and also with help for programmable wallets, things like that. And I don't see Gas Station mentioned here. Oh, there it is. It's in 2 phases. They're enabling support for programmable wallets and Gas Station on Solana. So Gas Station is available already for EVM protocols. And what Gas Station does is it allows app developers, or DApp developers, decentralized app developers, to have outsourcing for transaction fees. So it could be sponsored. They could redirect it to some other address, like a multi-sig, like a treasury thing, sponsoring gasless or gas-free transactions. So this is really interesting. I'd like to see more of this. Anything that takes away the the responsibility for paying for gas fees away from regular users is what's going to bring more people down here, right? Because I think a lot of people don't like going to ETH mainnet, even though ETH mainnet, great place to invest, great place to yield farm, but those gas fees are what keep people away, which has its pros and cons. I think a lot of whale wallets, institutions still go there because they know there won't be a lot of low cap farmers, or maybe more degen activity because of the high barrier to entry because of gas fees. So leave that to some of these other blockchains where they can all fight for liquidity. So that is off the back of a new announcement from Solana this morning. Fuse Wallet, a smart wallet coming from Solana. Now, I've been calling for this for months now, right? Almost 8 months now, for a wallet meta, based off of my meetings from people at ETH Denver last year, not this year, last year, with EIP 4337, which gives better services for account abstraction, being able to roll back transactions, things, seed phrase recovery, things that people in the regular world are going to need, or what we call normies, civilians, in order to come down and just use the service. Because if there's such a high friction entry, a high barrier to entry, most people aren't going to take the time. And that's something that we've said a long time in our group, that confusion equals money, right? Because most people will not take the time to work through the confusion, jump through the hoops to go and see if they can make the money. Whereas all of us have. We know that there's going to be hoops to jump through. That's okay, because honestly, it's worth the work. It has been, at least for all of us. So what do we know about this Fuse wallet so far? So there's 2FA, there's recovery, things that look like get around in EIP 4337, no seed phrase. How do they get around that? Generally, that's all created, it's abstracted away from you. It's there's different ways to authenticate for your approvals. And it looks like this is going to be based off of a device key, whether it be in the secure enclave on your device. Looks like this is mobile only for now. I know Test Flight is out. So if you're familiar with iOS and Apple devices, Test Flight is their beta testing program. They've been testing this for a minute. I didn't get in on this because, you know how we feel about using mobile devices for DeFi. We don't recommend it. I don't think my stance changes here. There's more of a convenience, perhaps, of having people, available to play with mobile wallets. And I think I just saw a wild Paul show up here on the stage. Hey there, sir.
Hey,
Good to see
how
you.
you doing?
I'm doing well. I was just telling everybody that we are trying out a new live stream to X on Twitter. So say hello to everybody on Twitter.
Hey everyone. Hi.
This is
Hope it's
Paul from
working
Elk
good.
Finance and Project Ralph. Yeah, it's great. Apparently, there's no lag, unlike you would get on Facebook, on Twitch,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
YouTube. So trying it out, I guess it's worth the monthly fee. What we're talking about right now is we're talking about wallets because Circle just came out with a new where they're putting Web3 services on Solana. Solana just announced this new smart wallet today called Fuse. And it looks like it's
Wow.
iOS only for now. Yeah, iOS only for now using Face ID. And I don't like it that it's an iCloud. Keep it on the device, but it is what it is. Maybe it gets better. For anybody who's
Yeah.
into Apple products, they mentioned this new Apple Intelligence product they've been working on for at least a couple of years now. I don't think it's a secret, but they came out with, Apple Intelligence, AI, interesting branding. Um, this could be a very integral part of this. Um, we'll see. I'm curious to see how this works specifically with the recovery keys. This does promote self custody. It is created by Solana, and yeah, so far, it has everything I guess that you would really want to see. It is audited. Oh, it's open source. Okay. Well, we'll have to play around and see exactly what it does. I may just stake Sol inside here. So,
You
curious to see how this works, but
interestingly enough, I specifically didn't do a lot of investing on Sol because I didn't like the wallet experiences.
mhm. Yeah, you should give Fuse a try. Actually, I like Backpack quite a bit. Backpack is not bad. I mean, it's honestly there's a lot better features in Phantom. Coinbase Wallet I'll give a try because they support Solana natively. So I do like Coinbase Wallet to a degree. There could be some better things on it, but I'd be willing to give it a try if it does there. So yeah, would be good to have possibly on this show a wallet shootout, like a comparison between different wallets to kind of see how that user experience would be. I think that's something we might do. I like that idea. So
That'd be cool.
that would be cool. So yeah, we did also cover the Zksync airdrop next week. Let me go back here. So again, it's a one-time airdrop, by the way. I wanted to bring that up. By 2/3 of the 21 billion token supply is being given to the community. Good luck if you got in. Should be next week, and you have till January of 2025 to claim. So keep that in mind if you just want to kind of see how it plays out, that type of thing. But you probably will get some staking facilities, farming facilities for that up to then. So I wouldn't wait until January, honestly. Uh, Airdrops are generally hottest in the beginning. Then of course there's that proverbial turbo dump phase where everyone's just trying to get the free
Hmm.
money, and then you get the people buying back in as it starts to build. And it's working out okay for StartNet folks, I suppose. But yeah, so
You-
excited to see. Let us know how you do on your ZK sync airdrops. That would be fantastic because we love to see people winning in our
you-
communities.
Chris, do you know how much ZK Sync raised?
I do not.
Like
I do
in
not.
their
It was
funding
a lot of
rounds?
money though. It was a tremendous amount of money though.
Yeah.
Maybe they have it here. Let's see.
458 million.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't say here. That's a ton of money. I mean, so the three major ZK Sync protocols. Well, so you have ZK Sync, you have Linea, you have Scroll. Um, Scroll is still a good target. I would say farm the hell out of Scroll if you have the ability to do so. Um, there's still a little bit of time. Don't quote me on that, of course. None of this is financial advice. Pardon me. Do your research on that. But we were talking about gasless transactions. Little clickbaity on this one, mainly because PancakeSwap integrates Zyfi. This is on Zksync for gas-free DeFi trading. Now, when you see that, you're like, oh my God, it's free. Kind of is probably, it's an asterisk, right? So gas-free DeFi trading in this context means that by allowing gas payments with various ERC20 tokens, this means you don't have to hold the gas token to do the transaction on PancakeSwap on Zksync. So kind of bait and switch. You still have to pay for the transactions, but it doesn't have to necessarily be in the gas token. So you need ETH if you're going to be on Zksync. But you could pay another if you happen to have USDC in your wallet. There are multiple protocols that do this already, but on the PancakeSwap level, interesting to see. Is this something you guys have thought about putting into Elk Finance, Paul? Any type of sponsored or other gas token transactions? How hard is that to build?
Yeah, in fact, you could build that tech with ElkNet pretty much right now because you're just tapping liquidity pools. Now with that, for sure.
And so generally there's a swap on the back end, right? There would be a swap on the back end for whatever that token would be for gas. Pay for that transaction, then you'd be on your way.
How it up seems, right? Like for the user would be the architecture part of it, like however the developer would want to, execute the logic or whatever, however they'd want to code it. But yeah, it's definitely possible. That's how we do. It's the same. It's essentially the same function as because you could arrive on chain with gas from any chain that ElkNet's connected to. Okay. So that's the same type of function. You're just swapping. Elk is basically carrying the value from one chain to another, and then it's transferring into the gas token of that chain. So arriving on chain and the transaction fee that validates that or whatever is actually executed with a token from another chain.
Interesting.
If that makes sense. Yeah, because it carries the value. So ElkNet's handling the calculations in the back end. That's how cross-chain swaps occur.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So Zyfi is, in the same vein as that, maybe just for, other protocols. So this brings in what we talked about before with Solana and Solana and Circle and Gas Station, where you can have sponsored transactions. And that's exactly what's happening here. Apparently Zksync is going to sponsor up to $5,000 worth of gas fees in a first come first served basis if you use PancakeSwap on Zksync Era mainnet, not Zksync Lite, Zksync Era mainnet. So remember that if you're going to go there and check it out, which PancakeSwap is one of the OG yield farms in all of DeFi. When I see people like I was in this space, like in 2016, 2018, I'm like, so what did you use? Because really all you had was PancakeSwap, back then. So yeah, not to be outdone, but how is your operations with Elk on Polygon? Is it pretty strong?
Yeah, we have a lot of contacts there.
Oh, good. Well, segue over. Polygon has announced $1 billion in Matic or POL token, POL token over the next decade, which will be 100 million grants given every year for the next 10 years. This is the first season. Looks like it's only 35 million in Matic. With POL coming around the corner, and there will be a 1-to-1, I believe a 1-to-1 exchange for Matic and POL for 3 years. You have to apply for these grants. And basically they're trying to get as many people into building on Polygon as possible. Ultimately we're seeing this across multiple blockchains. to go along with the huge phase 2 airdrop from Pyth networks, the decentralized Oracle, to protocols across multiple blockchains that use Pyth for their Oracle work. I do feel like we're in a situation where multiple blockchains and their entities behind them are looking to find major incentives to bring in more builders, more TVL, really just to try and crowd the room, as a lot of the same people are walking in and out of each blockchain. So anything they can do to get more TVL, more eyes, specifically with, what we're going to talk about next with crypto becoming a hot button issue, this could be a new extended DeFi summer. Just, and not to be too on the nose about it, because, historically Bitcoin is very quiet during June and July. So all of these incentives that are coming about have made, this halving cycle very different than what it has been previously. So what I wanted to ask you, Paul, is, are you guys seeing a lot of these incentives being thrown around and, in side conversations, is ways to bring more people to multiple blockchains? I know you guys have been launching things on multiple different smaller blockchains.
Yeah. So typically the grants programs are progressive, and then you'll see a few different things. You'll see VC labels or VC money start to get white labeled. So like, I don't know if you remember Avalanche Rush campaign.
Yep.
There's Axler put together a pretty good accelerator program, and they'll say something like, build with this tech, and we're going to be investing $50 million or whatever it is. And so what these programs really seek to do is achieve vast distribution and secure new ownership in the networks and the protocols, as builders are incentivized and empowered, and they build engaging communities. Those same builders also become part owners fractionally through the compensation they're given and the fractional representation of ownership of the tokens and how they're dispersed. So really what they're after is more user owners, right? Like people that can take control and fulfill on behalf of the network and the protocols and the businesses, essentially, the good activities that perpetuate those businesses and create opportunities and fulfill needs ultimately. So yeah, and I think we're going to see, as tech is starting to catch up in like POS software and these nifty utilities like Zyfi has, right? Like, so a Zyfi, essentially what you can do, for example, and I'll tie this back in, it's the same thing with Elknet. You can create a way for users to only have delta neutral exposure throughout their wallets, and then when the opportunity arises, execute a command like purchase this token at this price, and then you can use some type of large language model or machine learning to help seek out and find the best aggregated APRs, whether that's through trade or whether that's through farming or whatever it is. So point being is these programs are becoming more sophisticated in what they want to see being built and what's of utility. I think the review processes are denser, or can be. And we don't, when we've applied across all the blockchains, and typically, early on there was many more handshake agreements and that type of style. Now it's a lot more demanding in what you have to provide, and they want to see incorporation and things like that. And so it makes you wonder, how gated it is and how fair distribution of the rewards is achieved, right? So but like I think Polygon might be doing a good job with this specifically. I have not looked into it personally, so I'm glad that you brought us up or brought this up. This is great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
These yields are going to farm themselves, Paul. Let's get these people in here and
Yeah, for
farm it on
sure.
Elknet for sure.
Mm.
Thanks for the insight on that. And that's what I love about having Paul on as a builder in this space. He's seen a lot of stuff. I mean, he's been here as long as I have in terms of DeFi. So thanks again, Paul, for being here. We'll
Oh,
talk a little bit
absolutely.
more about Elk Finance and Project Ralph in just a minute in our What We Learned section.
Sure.
So we're going to move into something we talked about last week. And the question is crypto going to become a politicized issue? And I think the answer is wholeheartedly yes. This is an older article, but I did find it because there were some interesting things we didn't talk about last week. Last week. It looks like 19% of registered voters own more than $1,000 worth of crypto. So that's roughly 11 million people. So there are people who are probably voting with their digital wallet, not just their leather wallet or whatever wallet material that you have. Vegan leather, I don't care. But former President Trump, of course, front runner to possibly take this election, did say at a San Francisco fundraising event last week that he is becoming the crypto president. RFK Jr., you better say something quickly, sir, because I know that you definitely want to be the crypto president, of course. Interestingly enough, and we'll talk about this in another article that I'll bring up in just a second, he's been meeting with multiple miners on the Bitcoin side. I think one of his top aides for crypto is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, which is interesting. But apparently, people who came to this fundraiser were executives from Coinbase, Gemini. Oh, I'm sorry, the Winklevoss twins, the Gemini co-founders, and quite a few other major players in our space. So this is going to be a rather interesting hot button issue. I'm curious to see how it goes, how much hotter it gets, and are they really going to talk about issues that will speak to our space pretty heavily? And I think one of them is going to be the idea that he is talking about supporting Bitcoin mining. And apparently I need my situation to heat up here, my connection rather, because he believes that Bitcoin mining is going to be the last line of defense against a central bank digital currency. We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. It will help us be energy dominant. The many ways I could break down this, the many ways we could break down this specific statement. Honestly, I'm just going to let it go because I don't know how we're going to make Bitcoin made in the USA. It's not the last line of a defense against the CBDC. Satoshi would be rolling over in his digital grave at this point as we stray farther and farther from Satoshi's vision. But we'll see what happens here, because statements like this are going to awaken certain people within his base, and many of them own his NFTs. Many of them own lots of crypto on both sides of the aisle, right? We have multiple people who are, very invested in things like MAGA and some of these other coins that are out there. Interesting to see. He's very aware, by the way, of all of these projects. Do not be mistaken. There's a very interesting statement, and I'm curious to see how this plays out over the next couple months. But make no mistake, they are drawing a line in the sand. They know exactly who they're going after. And yeah, I think we're going to see some interesting discourse between himself, representatives for President Biden, and RFK Jr., who has very publicly talked about this, most recently at ETH Denver. But maybe one person he should talk to, Paul, is Iggy Azalea about how Bitcoin and the new Giga Chad on the block, the American classic herself, So the one thing, and we talked about this last week because she's made so much off of Mother apparently that she shut down her OnlyFans. Good for you, by the way, Iggy Azalea. You're fancy. So the one thing that meme coins need to remain relevant, besides just a great community, a great cultural movement, is utility. Granted, I can't tell you a lot of utility about things like Book of Memes, Bonk, Pepe. I'm sure there's utility there somewhere. I don't know what it is. In any case, they have decided, or rather, Iggy Azalea's representatives have decided to relaunch their, I guess, failed telecommunication company she co-founded. So you will be able to use Mother to pay for both phones, goods, and services underneath this plan. So, Paul, I want to ask you, A, is ElkNet involved with Mother's plans? If not...
No.
Oh, okay.
It can be, though. It could be.
Yeah, that's the right answer. It could be. So, Iggy Azalea, your representation, if you are listening to us, you know, a lot of companies talk about wanting to onboard the next billion people into DeFi. Here at Beacon DeFi, we want to be the ones who show people how to do that. So reach out. I'll let my people call your people, or vice versa. Either is fine. I know that Andrew and several others of our mastermind members are probably in a dark room clutching their Solana Saga 2 Founder Edition pre-orders at this point. Because now if Solana were to approach Iggy Azalea here and try and incorporate Mother into the next version of the Solana phone, like I just mentioned, I think that would be a very smart play for them. Granted, no idea if Mother is even going to be a thing by the time we hit 2025, but props to them and their team for trying to stay relevant. So any thoughts on this before I move forward?
No, other than a lot of these projects, I mean, they start off with these intentions that are good, but the problem is they make so much money in such a short period of time. It's actually a risk to follow through with what the original vision of the project is, because they've made so much. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so this is a tough road for them to follow, because ultimately, you know, celeb coins overall just don't do well. That doesn't mean that this one cannot. I mean, I did not have on my bingo card with Iggy Azalea being, you know, the leader of the meme coins right now, taking the lead from Jenner, for example. Yeah. So we'll see exactly what happens. But I mean, this is why it's hard to talk about crypto, because stuff like this happens and you're just like, I don't know. I thought we were going up on Bitcoin. So anyway, is there going to be a comfy season for Mother to rotate into? I don't think so, but you know, maybe we'll all be laughing when Mother is $20 and we all bought it 19 cents. Good for you if that's the case. But the majority of coins that have actually launched the last week are down 75% with this dip. So it's up to their community to see where they can pull up the bootstraps and get people buying again. In any case, from a standpoint of DeFi, I think there's a Mother pool on Orca or Meteora. Have at it. Why hold spot when you can play off the behavior of others? Am I right? Am I right? Last thing we have here in the news is Optimism. Optimism has finally fulfilled their launch, their mission critical launch feature of having fault proofs in their system. As of Monday, it's finally hit the mainnet, and basically it's interesting. I mean, this kind of led OP to not be a layer one, rather what do they call it? A decentralized score of 1, like Arbitrum, because Arbitrum does have fault proofs or fraud proofs baked into their system, whereas Optimism did not. They had them, and then they kind of cast them aside because there were some issues. So they've been working very hard on making sure that it does work. I do have something in the show notes for anybody who is not familiar with what a fraud proof or a fault proof is. And basically, it's a thread from Mr. Bread Guy, and it has nice drawings. And we like drawings; they make things a lot easier to visualize. Now they will become stage 1 decentralized, just like their sister chain Arbitrum. And so the idea is that without these proofs, there's really no guarantee, as opposed to where are these funds coming from. Now they've had something in place. They've had a security council to take care of this. So it's worked so far. But now that this is here, you should see some improvement in base. In apparently Mantle is an OP it's an OP chain. I didn't realize that. I totally forgot about that. They're built on the OP stack, but they're going to be using Eigenlayer for DA and security. So yeah, all these other chains like Mode, Bob, built on Bitcoin, Zora, Risk, Redstone, will all now have the fault proofs available. So does this move the needle for you on optimism, Paul?
Yeah. I
just a casual yeah.
I've been sleeping on optimism since Velodrome. Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah, and but, this could be their time to shine.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely good. It's funny because we deployed on Arbitrum very, very early. We deployed Avalanche very, very early. We're just an early project at Elk. And Arbitrum was, same thing. There's like nothing going on there. And then it, absolutely blew up. Now I know what are the different layers being built with the optimism stack, the OP stack, OPBNB, right? You don't hear a lot about that.
Yep.
Well, what are the other ones? I forget. I think Base wasn't it?
Base. Yep. Base. OPBNB, Base, Zora. I said Risk. It's actually Lisk, Redstone, which is an RWA chain. Mantle. Mantle's the other one from Bybit. The only difference is that they're using Eigenlayer AVS for security and consensus. So,
oh yeah, I see it right here. Base, Fractal, Mode, OP, Mainnet,
Fractal,
Redstone,
yes.
Zora.
Yep.
Yeah, so
and Velodrome, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I never really counted them out or anything. It's just like that's one of the one of the disadvantages to building and coming across a lot of information. You just keep building. It's hard to participate in everything that's going on. I think that's why I like your platform because I even learned a lot. I take notes. So
appreciate that.
Yeah. It helps.
We love our partnership with you and collaborating. So that does help. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll go ahead and move into what we've learned. We'll talk about Elk in a second as well. But what I did want to cover in or what we learned section today is about the recent movement on Arbitrum. So Arbitrum is pretty much, I want to say, stayed relevant. That in terms of TVL, they are larger than Base and Optimism combined, which is saying something because Base has just been on fire. But Arbitrum's been able to keep things steady by, bringing in these short-term incentive protocols, having great anchor protocols like GMX, like I'll say Jones, some of these others that have been out there and gains that have been doing well. They've really been, in my opinion, my take is that they're more of a fintech type of chain, to the point that they actually created another subchain called Arbitrum Nova for NFT and GameFi. There is some gaming on Arbitrum, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they've had these short-term incentive protocols based off of last year's Arbitrum airdrop. I think 90 million in funds didn't get claimed, so that was the start of these incentives. They just wanted to give it back out to the group. This is, I believe, round 3 of the STIP bridge protocols. These are going to be going out every 2 weeks to these protocols for the next 12 weeks. So roughly around the 2nd of September is what they're looking at. So these are the protocols that the 39 that were funded with roughly about 28 million ARB. So no difference. There may be a couple new ones in here that I hadn't seen, but you know, the big winners would be GMX, Gains, Mux, Radiant with a very interesting number here, 1,426,022. Really interesting number. And Vertex with 1.5. So what, and Stargate with 750,000. Interesting thread between the majority of these is that perp dexes are still huge. Real yield is still here to stay. We'll talk about that and call for help today. So that is the short-term incentive protocol list. So if you're looking for better incentives over the next 3 months, specifically in this time where, you know, Bitcoin is normally asleep, this is a good place to start here on Arbitrum. You know, here at Beacon, you know, this is the blockchain we start most of our members on that follow our platform and educational resources, mainly because there's a ton of protocols on there. There will continue to be tons of protocols building here because of these great incentives. Another thing they also had, there's three types of incentives they approved in the last 2 weeks. The first was the STIP, which is went live on Monday, June 10th. They have a program called the Long-Term Incentive Protocol. So we have the STIP, the short-term, and then we have the LTIPP, which is the long-term. That started on June 3rd, and that is going every 2 weeks all the way up to September 9th. Now, there were 82 protocols that applied for the long-term. And what is interesting about this is that, you know, they qualified for a specific amount, but they also have to be transparent about what they're doing with the funds. So they have to do a bi-weekly report every 2 weeks, and they have to give away all of their incentives. Anything that's not given out by September 2nd has to be sent back to the LTIPP multisig. Now, looking at this list, the majority of protocols on this list have all applied, and most of them, I'd say 95% of them, never received any backdrop funding or STIP funding from previous campaigns. So we've got a different list here than what we saw previously. Like Aave is on this list, the large interoperability protocol Across is on here, Beefy is on here for 600K. Their incentives went live yesterday, thanks to EPEAT, of course, friend of the show, and a great partner for Beacon who put that on our Discord yesterday, the hour it went live. Compound got a huge boost at 1.8 million in ARB. D-Bridge, new protocol for interoperability. They came out with 1 million. Connex, which is now Everclear, another interoperability protocol, got a decent amount. And by going through here, if you're looking for new protocols to check out, that is especially what this is for. Arbitrum is well known for having this Odyssey program to try and feature new protocols every week. They haven't done one in quite some time, but these incentive programs are great just to give you an idea for companies to see if there's product market fit in your allocation to find new protocols to go into. So if people are asking if there are any that I think would be worth going into, of course, you all know I love Beefy. I've been in Beefy since day one. I'm a huge Beefy cheerleader, very thankful for their partnership with us. D-Bridge, newer protocol. It is a bridging interoperability protocol. We did test it out on one of our membership calls. You can get from base to Solana in less than 10 seconds, which is not sure how that works. Not sure if you know how that works either, Paul, but you know, interesting how that works. But it worked, and they are farming a ton of points right now for one of their.
This.
I think you froze on me there, Paul.
Hello.
Yep, you're there.
Yeah. I think I gotta drop off and reboot. My apologies. Something's wrong with this.
Okay.
See you soon. Okay.
No, that's okay. We'll see you. We'll see you in a second. So while Paul goes and comes back. Just wanted to take a quick second, please like the stream, or give a thumbs up, share, retweet, whatever you want to do there. Help us out, of course. If you want to join our absolutely free group, if you want to learn how to be a great DeFi investor, learning from the best in the business, school.com/Beacon, completely free. Join the hundreds of others who are amongst our great community there at Total Value Locked. And yeah. And also thanks, of course, to our Beacon founding members and our Beacon Mastermind members. I couldn't do any of this without you guys. Much love to you all. Let's see, back to the list. I have a feeling I didn't share that at all. I was like, did that happen? I must not have shared. In any case. So anyway, I'll have these links in the show notes. Feel free to check that out when we get there. Okay, so we're at almost 10:02. The last thing I'll talk about, like I said, there's plenty of protocols on here. If you've never heard of these before, check them out. One thing in particular, Mountain Protocol. RWA-backed US T-bill stablecoin. You've seen them on protocols like Manta Pacific, mainnet, of course, ETH mainnet, and they're going to be moving over here, expanding here to Arbitrum. I think they're already on Base as well, so give them a look if you're looking for a stablecoin. Quite a few others on here as well. Pith got 1 million, which is great. Reserve Protocol got 500,000. Big fans of Reserve. We've had a call with them on our YouTube channel. Check that out. And yeah, so all of these will be getting incentives going for the next 12 weeks, every 2 weeks. So we should see a good continuous stream of yield going around. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about from them is that they have passed this as of Friday. This is the Gaming Catalyst program. I did mention that they do have a blockchain called Arbitrum Nova specifically for GameFi and for NFTs. Doesn't have to be that. That's not what it is. It just happens to be a lot more protocols on that side. Plus, they're having more layer 3s built on top of their Arbitrum Orbit that are focused on these gaming programs. So GCP, Gaming Catalyst program, 200 million over 3 years in ARB tokens. Well, technically 225, but 25 million is going for its operational expenses to create a team, a council to help govern these funds. They're going to be throwing quite a bit of money at gaming studios and other entities like that to bring them into Arbitrum. 160 million specifically. Yeah, 160 million to be sent out to builders looking to bring as many people into the space as possible to just really get things going. And yeah, that's a lot of money. And I'm hoping that will specifically bring in more people into Arbitrum, really for GameFi. I think GameFi would be great. People were asking, do I see good things for companies here? Yeah, I think definitely DMT on Sanko. That's a layer 3 built on top of Arbitrum. DMT is their token. They could do really well from this. Treasure DAO, Magic is that token, and then XAI, another GameFi focused protocol there in Arbitrum. 3 specific ones that I'll call out right now that could be some interesting targets for you if you're looking to get into that, because we should see more of these types of protocols coming into Arbitrum. So it's good to see. I like to see growth. This is kind of on message for Arbitrum to try and incentivize as many people to continue coming in, creating almost like this flywheel, right? These flywheels of liquidity. That's what I have here in my notes to talk about. It's just seeing more and more incentives, getting people coming in with liquidity, incentives going out, and then more liquidity coming in. So it's just this nice circular flywheel coming in across multiple blockchains, because we see this already on Base. We see this on Avalanche. We see this on Polygon. Zksync is having their airdrop, so that's going to cause a really interesting effect there. Solana, we've talked about multiple things that are coming for them. And then now here with Arbitrum, it's going to continue to keep that going because they are the leading L2. They'll continue to be the leading L2 until Base and Optimism really just kind of work out whatever they're going to be doing to take over other types of liquidity mechanisms. And yeah, excited to see what happens there. So that's that's the section of what we learned. When we get back, we get Paul back, we'll go ahead and have him plug a little bit of Elk Finance. But what we'll do now is we'll go into call for help. And what is call for help? Call for help is our Q&A section. I would love to do a Q&A call every week. So, shoot in all the questions. We have posts on our TVL group here at school if you're curious about putting in a Q&A, and we'll get them answered. I would love to do it. I would love to do a show like that every week, trying to get more people's questions answered and get them educated on, on DeFi, making sure that everything in DeFi is a great investment. There's nothing crazy about DeFi. It's the future of how we're going to do business. I think the future of how we're going to live in society moving forward. And today's question is from John. One second. And John has put together multiple questions before, so I appreciate you, John, keeping on that train. His question today is, what are your thoughts on leverage trading using sites such as gmx.io? Good idea or no? There's actually a couple questions. What percentage of one's crypto assets should be allocated to this? And also, what are some effective ways of knowing when to buy and sell a particular asset? So GMX is great. GMX is what we call a perpetual DEX or a perp DEX, where it's a DEX whose assets have deep liquidity pools based on their trading services. Now, these are all derivative assets. You can say they do have a future section as well. I'll start off by saying that with regards to trading, we're not a trading group at Beacon. It surely is a part of what people in our group do, but we try and stay at the center of DeFi, which is staking, yield provision, anything related to on-chain finance, blockchain finance, and blockchain tech will be things that we specifically focus on, because we want your money that you purchase with your spot bags to work for you. You can make the argument you're doing that by doing, purchasing options and doing calls and puts, and that's fine. It's up to you how much you want to trade. They have trading services here. I will say there are better trading perp dexes around, right? So if I go into the actual app, what we're going to see is a full high frequency trading type of system. They have multiple assets that you can buy. You can do margin, you can do leverage, you can do limit buys, anything you can think of, you can do that here at GMX. It's kind of had to get to a better spot, right? Because they had issues. We've had members have issues trying to do stop losses or take profits, and the system not going in fast enough to catch up because of whatever their pricing oracle might be. So it's, in some cases, it's had to improve in terms of that ability to keep up. But there are better options out there, in my opinion. I'll tell you what they are. In my opinion, Hyperliquid, excellent. Cosmos-based, layer 1 blockchain, but their front end is based on Arbitrum. So in order to trade on Hyperliquid, you have to be on Arbitrum, and it only takes USDC as the currency. So it's an interesting way how it works out. I think they're working on more things for V2 for Hyperliquid, but not only can you do trading here, you can do liquidity provision, which we'll talk about in a minute. The other three that I'll bring up, Vela.exchange. I like Vela and I like HMX because they use Pyth as their oracle system for pricing. Very fast, very performant, decentralized. I do think GMX might be using Chainlink oracles. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Again, HMX actually does leverage trading based off of GMX token pools. So Gigi, one of our coaches, has gone on record saying that HMX is her highest printing position regularly. The other one, of course, if you go to Solana, Jupiter, and there's others too. I can name a dozen more, honestly, across EVM, across Cosmos, across Solana, because I didn't even talk about Quenta. I didn't talk about Synthetics. I didn't talk about DYDX or some of these others that are out there. Yeah, you can definitely use the trading services out there, and they all have great tech. From a DeFi perspective, we care more about being part of what we call the house, which is providing liquidity that powers the liquidity in these pools. The liquidity you provide allows them to have deep enough liquidity for long and short positions. See this? This is all based off of general, not only protocol revenue, but also just user liquidity, popping it in here. GMX has been the darling of DeFi for almost 2 years. They frequently get the most incentives on ARB because they're just gigantic. There are a ton of whales in here. Arthur Hayes, huge GMX whale. And in most people prefer to come in here through Earn, right? Which is the liquidity provision. You can either buy GLP, which is more of like their basket of stocks, and you earn once a week, get rewards, or you can actually use their GM tokens, which actually drive the specific trading pairs. So if you don't want to have the full, so GLP is a basket of assets, so it's just a general vault. You can actually go specifically, oh, hit my mic, sorry. You can actually go with specific trading pairs if you go into the GM pools. And what's great about that is there are actually protocols that actually take these GM pools that you receive, because you just hold them in your wallet, the auto compound, and then with the ARB incentive, you normally get a once a week drop based on your position. But you can do things with these GM tokens, the receipt tokens you get for providing liquidity. There are other protocols that optimize them. One of them being Synonym Finance is one for sure. HMX is the other. Again, you can earn liquidity. It's HLP leveraged market making. And what you do is you just deposit 3 tokens, either ETH GM tokens, BTC GM tokens, or USDC.E, the native Arbitrum, or the wrapped bridged Arbitrum USDC token. And it works really well. So yeah, I would say, you know, in this era of real yield, the one thing you definitely want to make sure that you do is to, you know, again, not financial advice, do your own research, keep your allocations specifically diversified, no more than 30% in any one protocol. Why? Because any of these protocols can go bad. Everyone has a chance to get an exploit, regardless of security. We've seen some recently, had 3 audits and an actual real-time monitoring solution, and they still got exploited. That was Velocore. We talked about them last week. So there's not a protocol that is without any risk on something like that. Now, to answer your third question, which is what are some effective ways on knowing when to buy and sell a particular asset? You know, we don't advocate for timing the market, right? We always talk about dollar cost averaging, DCAing in and out. The reason why is because if you try and time the market, you're probably never going to win. 95% of traders lose, right? Which is why we like DeFi. You can buy spot, buy assets spot, either at a DEX or at a CEX, hold them, or you can actually go and farm them. Have that money start working for you. Create passive yields that way. Incentivize passive yields. Ideally, the one thing you need to do is to have a plan, specifically for entrance and extra strategies. Understand where you have your expectations, and if you have a specific extra strategy based on when you take profit or when you cut your losses, you need to have that specifically available for every position you get into. Why? You also want to execute them without emotion. And again, the why is because farming with emotion, trying to time the market, these are all tools that are not helpful for you. Oftentimes you'll find yourself staying in longer or shorter than you should have. Maybe that's just part of the game. I'd rather be a little bit more calculated about it and just have a range and a tolerance where I want to stay. And yeah, hopefully that answers your question. It's a great question. 3-part question, and hopefully I answered it well. I don't think I see Paul, so we'll go ahead and we'll head home. But I do want to thank Paul from Elk Finance and Project Ralph. We'll have notes in the we'll have links to the notes so you can follow their progress. They just launched on Avalanche after launching Project Ralph, which is a DN404 token, hybrid NFT, hybrid LP token on Base. So now they're on Avalanche. You can join their Telegram. and learn more about how DN404 works. It's a really interesting standard that came out a little bit earlier this year. And we've talked about it, of course, at length. And yeah, great partners of us at Elk Finance. Very happy to have them here, interacting with us. So if you want to learn more about what I was just talking about, if that actually resonated with you, definitely, again, recommend you join our free group, school.com/beacon for total value locked. We do these trainings every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, either with myself, Andrew, or a member of our team. Again, they're completely free. Our goal is to really just make sure people are educated. A lot of people have really bad or really misinformed takes on crypto and decentralized finance specifically, which is something we're very passionate about. So we want to spread the news. We want people to invest your money, and wanting to have as many of you spread the news for us as well. So please join the hundreds of others. We launched it just before in mid-February, and we've got nearly 650 people part of the group. Thriving community. Happy to have everybody there. Thankful for all of you members for being here as well. And yeah, that's all we have for today. We'll have another panel here for you next week, guys. Talking about the news of the week, sharing a little bit of alpha, and answering your questions with our call for help section. Till then, we'll see you later. 07. Have a great day. Beacons up, banks down. See you later.